So welcome everyone. Welcome to Yoga at Bonnevaux. Another beautiful sunny day here. It's 36 degrees or something like that. I really appreciate all of you who've written in with comments, helping me to understand how you see and what you see and how much you hear and don't hear. And we, at Bonnevaux, we have a very, very, very poor internet because we're in a valley and we're far away from the telecom towers. So it's been excellent and poor up and down all afternoon. But good news is that fiber optics is approaching. So it's in the next village, and it was delayed by COVID because they ran out of materials. So it could be that by Christmas or early spring, we will have a sounder platform to put out from. And also we found a camera that's very user-friendly and works with low output from the internet. This has been the problem, that we couldn't just run out and buy cameras and lights because they were not giving good enough pictures. So we're just waiting for some more portable lights, and that should help bring the vision and the sound more clearly to you. So that's where we are with that. So in this series, we've been looking at the standing poses in relation to bending forward and back and beginning to notice what it means to rotate when we're upright, but also the difference between the feeling that your whole body is rotating, but you're not really, you're just making a deep rotating movement in your ankles. Your whole body is just not done much rotation, as opposed to triangle poses, which are about the lower body and the upper body rotating and counter-rotating against each other. So we've been looking into that. And so we'll continue on that thread. And I'm going to go a little bit into the area of the upper body and shoulders. So that's what we're going to do today. So I hope you have fun. It's lovely to see all your names in the list. So I know so many of you. It's just a delight. So have fun from wherever you are in the world. Okay, so today we're just going to start lying down. How's the sound? Is it good? Yeah. So just start lying down, and remember that there isn't a rule. So I think in yoga, whenever you get these rules, it's worth looking into them. It's worth looking into them. There are biological rules. You really hurt your joint if you push it outside of its range. But that's a different thing. So some of these rules in yoga that we've inherited, I find them really interesting. And usually when I look inside, it becomes very creative because you realize, oh, but I could do that or that, and why not? So when you lie on your back, which in yoga is called shavasana, the corpse of the pose, the pose of the corpse, not the corpse of the pose, you have a choice of lying with your legs and arms straight or your legs bent. And one is not better than the other. We looked at this a couple of classes ago. It's that they're different and they give you something different. So let's start with legs straight. So your legs are straight, and that means that your heels are touching the ground, but your feet are facing out across your living room or bedroom or wherever you are, garden. And when we lie like this, we feel the curves of the spine. We feel the curviness of our spines. And there is a tension release from curve to curve. And very often we think there's something wrong with that. Or we think, because we're movement people or whatever, we think that's bad, that my spine has curves. But it's not. Curves are beautiful. Just look at a duck, look at its back, look at a wave, look at a flower, a petal. Curves, 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 curves. Look at the hills and valleys of the landscape around it. It's just man-made landscapes that have straight lines and orthogonal grids. So what I want you to do as you settle into the weight of your body is to feel the curve and counter curve of your body. And without judging it too quickly, just notice where it feels zingy, and zingy things pulling or cracking against each other, zingy but comfortable, zingy more uncomfortable, that kind of thing. And then also notice where the bony parts of curves are pressing into the ground. So I can feel three main areas. There's a tiny spot behind my head, which presses into the ground. And you know, you want to fall in love with the shapes of your body rather than problematize it. So I know that my head has a funny shape. It's not completely round at the back. So the left pushes more into the ground than the right, and it's a bit pin-headed. I am an alien pin-headed yoga teacher. And so when I wobble my head, I can feel that it goes kadunk, kadunk. But there is a clear spot that's leaning into the ground in the back of my head, the bony back of my head. And then there's an area, upper third of my breastbone, where in the back it's also leaning into the ground. And between the spot of my head and the spot there, I can feel that there is life and a pull in the curve of my neck. And that's really interesting. I know I have a tendency to shorten my neck, but it's really interesting, and I just let myself notice that. Then there's a place in my pelvis where my sacrum is. There's also a place where I can feel my pelvis is heavy on the ground in its boniness, and my heels, my elbows. And as I breathe, I can feel and I realize that there is a give, pull in the relationship of these bony spots that are resting on the ground. Your back could be completely different. It could feel like it's very long and quiet and all just on the floor. You may live with pain. Lots of people, if they lie too long, they feel pain at their sacrum. So you see, we're in the garden and we're walking around and we're going, this is just so beautiful. And it's through noticing what's there and making friends with our bodies that then, of course, healing can take place, or even corrections. We can correct something through the yoga. Okay. And then we're just going to put your hands on your groins and we're just going to roll the legs in, roll the legs out. So it's not so much the wobble that we often do, but it's much more a roll. So there is a moment as you roll in where your whole leg may come off the ground, the shape of the femur, and then you roll out and much more of the outside of the leg rest. So roll in, almost like the toes are really pointing at each other, like this, or just kind of in the knee. But roll the whole leg from the hips in and out. And notice what it does. You know, does it feel good? Is there an ache? I feel an ache in my lower back. And then roll out. So just rolling in and rolling out. Just do that a few times. So you need to be a little deliberate. Yeah. So you can see I've accelerated. So it has a bit of a swing. And roll, roll, in, out. And then we turn this more into a wobble. But keep the whole leg rolling. Yeah, that's it. Keep the whole leg rolling. Yeah. And just notice. That's great. Just notice. And then let go. And then let go. Okay. So now we're going to take just the right leg. You can watch me for a minute if you want. We're going to let the right leg roll out. And as it rolls out, we're going to let it slide up the floor. So get your yoga mat out of the way. Don't pick it off the ground. Leave it in its weight, externally rotated. This is a wonderful education for the adductor psoas pathway, especially people like me who are a little bit in flexion in those areas in their thighs. it releases that pathway as you come up to bend leg the foot on the ground. And then you can support on the outside of the leg if it's helpful, drop it out and slide it down and let it stay there quite long. You will notice after 1 or 2 times that it will feel different from the other leg. You just do a few more times on the same side. Don't pick it up. And you see when I come up with the leg bent, the foot on the ground, I do a little bit of, you can now add it, you can let it lean into the midline a bit. Yeah, so we really play across the whole joint, roll out, lengthen back.
When you said don't pick it up, I mean, don't pick what?
Don't pick your foot off the floor. Let me watch it. Yeah, that's good. That's good. So it's just your yoga mat's in the way. Yeah, if we take that out. Yeah. So it rolls out and then it slides out and then the foot all the way up. And then you can even let it wobble a little and then it rolls. Yeah. And then you hang out there for a moment and then you do it again. Yeah. And up. And then easy. And then, yeah. Does that bother you when it slides so hard? So some people, if you see how David's legs slid, it could bother the knees. So you can just have a cushion if you do it again. My hand could be a cushion. So you come up, and then when you're letting go down, you just have something that catches you there. So you don't need to be uncomfortable. Let's do it a few more times on the same leg. Then root the foot, stay there. Feel the heel, feel the toes, feel the weight of the leg. Don't be in the activity. And then a little rocking, yeah. All of these movements are remapping. Yoga is much more about remapping, making friends and closeness than it is about, doing special movements that are amazing. I mean, apart from that, you do wonderful movements in yoga, and it is amazing and wonderful. Yeah, foot, rocking through the hip. So remember, with you, we've talked a lot about you being externally rotated when you stand and how this goes forward. So when you're up here, when you make this movement and you let your leg just lean in, you're going against your pattern. So you're giving your body a chance to remap, because you are always tight this way. Yeah. So it helps you to sit cross-legged, but then when you stand for a long time, you're in pain. Yeah. So when you're this way, it gives you a chance to be longer in the butt muscles and in a different place with your leg. Right. And then we open and then rest long. When you rest long, you are releasing the psoas and the adductor muscles down the inner line of the leg. Okay, and then we're going to work on the other leg. So same pathway. It externally rotates. You slide up. And don't lift the leg off the ground. And then you slide long. And you just do that for a minute or two, just on the other leg. It rolls. It comes up. Heel, toes, rocking. Breath, weight. You're not watching your movement, you're not performing, you're not wondering if you're doing great or not, or if you're going to be rewarded for these movements. You're not performing, you're participating. So you're just close. You're just close. It's like going for a walk with a friend. You're just side by side, one dwelling within the other. Just closeness, nearness, weight, participation, not looking at, not looking at. That's, I think, a big part of a regular movement practice where they used to go for walks, carrot chopping, or mountain climbing, or yoga. It's a time where you are remembering that you don't need to be looking at everything just with the eye on reflection. So many other ways of getting information and being in the world. So here we are. And then both legs come up, same pathway. Yeah, so this is the other way of lying on the floor, what Alexander called semi-supine. Supine is this position where we're belly up and with the legs bent. And this is wonderful because it does give you, through the stability of the foot and the bend in the knee, it gives you access to your lower back by reducing the full release of the curves of the spine. So that's a different thing. And what we want to do now is take your hands and put them under the back of your butt. Yeah. So it feels like your bottoms are resting on your baby finger. And then use your feet, and we're just going to let the tail go up to the sky a bit, and just a little. You can watch me. My hands are supporting, and I'm just, as my tail goes up, I'm just letting my lower back relax into the ground. Yeah, if you have a sacrum or a lower back that's bothering you, don't do too much of this, and don't persist if you are uncomfortable. Yeah, just like that. Tail going up, and pelvis tipping, and hands supporting. So the lower back really releases into the ground, and then I release my tail. Now we're going to do similar with the chest. Put your arms across your chest, with your fingers wrapped around your ribs, wrap around your ribs. Feet through. Tease my left side up off the ground. Tease my right rib cage up off the ground as I roll to the left. I'm going to do it again and again on each side. That's easy. And what you'll notice is that you're releasing the pathway of support of your back. So it may feel like the rib cage is relaxing, or you're massaging the tension of that curvature, but you will notice that you're starting to be in a different place, possibly longer. So you're just going to watch my left hand is around, my right hand is around my left ribs. I hook onto my shoulder blade, and I just tease myself to the right as I tease the left bit of my ribs off the ground. Then I roll to the left, with my left hand on my right shoulder blade, I tease my right ribs off the ground. So it's a bit of a rolly, subtle, delicious movement. And then the last bit is the head. I'm going to lengthen through the front of the deep part of my throat inside. I'm going to lengthen and let my head come up. Notice my voice is not on the strain. So that means my neck is free, my head is up. And then I put it back down. And I let my arms melt off. Just feel where you are, notice what's changing. As you breathe, it takes a moment to watch the video, you have to come back to yourself. You can videos, get uploaded, so you don't need to worry in that way. And often it takes time. And through this medium where we all go to classes where we're not present to the teacher who's teaching the movement, we need to learn through the metaphor, the sound of the voice, the gesture, what we see. But don't get stuck just on what you see, because what you're doing may be correct for you. So the fingers of the left hand have begun to wake up, and they've taken the whole forearm up, but not the elbow. The forearm is up off the ground, the elbow is rooted, and then I drop my forearm. And my fingers take my hand, take my forearm up again, and my fingers are looking around. Yeah, so they're moving my wrist, and all the muscles and the two bones of my forearm. So my forearm is free to explore and float and be rooted, but have fingers that are like shoots going up and growing, and then I can drop it all. And just notice what's the difference in feeling between the two arms. Usually it's a significant difference. Fingers the same, left fingers growing, taking the hand, taking the forearm, and this time taking the whole arm. The whole arm has flown, and the fingers can fly and lift the shoulder blade off the ground, or not. The fingers can fly, but the shoulder blade is reaching and drop everything. And then the fingers take you again through the wrist, the hand, the forearm, up through the whole arm, taking the shoulder blade, letting the arm rotate on its axis, letting the palm of the hand release open as it sees and is seen by the space, by the sky. Notice if there is now tension in your face, around your lips, in the back of your head, because it's not necessary. You are not communicating with someone, there's no social thing going on, you don't have to pick something up or do a complicated movement like threading a needle. So all of those habitual movements of tension in face and neck aren't necessary, and then drop. Now the right fingers are growing, and it's just up to the elbow, the right hand, the right forearm. There is movement and ease, freedom in and around the fingers. Yeah. Forearm. Open through the hand and still reaching through the feet, still heavy, down the axis of your body, fingers, take hand, take forearm, take the whole arm. Yeah, so this is kind of like a miraculous movement. It probably would take about 50,000 books to explain and describe how to do this movement. Yeah, but in proprioception, in the perception of myself moving and of its parts, I know immediately. I can compute, I can increase tension, release tension. The arm flies, it lifts the shoulder blade, it replaces, it lifts, it floats around. Yeah, so you can be more chaotic or more considered in your movements. And then dropping it. Both arms fly, and you can interrupt the ascent whenever you want, and just let them fall. Both arms going at different times, floating. So you just let yourself, let yourself into big, small, more chaotic, more considered, more floaty, more movements at the edge of your awareness, more movements at the center of something you're doing on purpose. And every now and again, the movement ends by just letting the whole thing drop. And keep coming back to the sense of weight, the breath, what's happening to you through the whole body. Yeah, so we'll do one more cycle of lying semi-supine and letting the arms ascend and move. That's great. And then David, or all of you, what you could do when you're up there, you can just add one more component, which is soften inside the mouth, swallow. That's a very good way of just checking where you are. Soften in the mouth, swallow, releasing the back of the tongue. And it's as if you want the back of your head to respond to the back of the tongue and it's like the back of the inner ear. It's as if something is pouring out through the back of your head, through the back of your head. It's a place like this lower part of the leg where the lower calf muscles become heels. It's a place of great gravity management in the body. These two places, where the Achilles tendon is and where the cranium sits on the top two vertebrae, they are loaded with receptors and small muscles that are, or fibers that are not just for making movements, they're for calibrating position and preparing you to move. So when we're tense, and we are, because posture is a chronic thing, those places are longing to reset their context. So you're swallowing, you're soft at the back of the tongue, you're soft behind your nose, your ears are something deep in your ears, something delicious and warm and aromatic is just melting out through the ear or out through the back of the head. And then you just allow the head to wobble a little from side to side. It's a very, very luxurious. And in daily life, we only make these kinds of movements when we feel safe. You know, when we don't feel safe, when we're under pressure, when we feel threatened, when we're defending ourselves, all that stuff, we don't. We become still and hard. And it's a different use of ourselves. So we're just swallowing, breathing, you know, looking more and more completely stupid. And it's just fantastic. Yeah. Just, that's how you're gonna win that argument with a friend or get that job. Yes, or tell the beloved that you love them. That's completely let the head relax on the floor. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to go into the shoulders a tiny bit and then we'll come up to standing. So this was the one that troubled you less, right? That more, yeah, this less, yeah. So we're going to do the less one first. So we're going to let the legs roll, both legs are just going to roll over to the right. If you have a shoulder that's more uncomfortable, roll to the side of the shoulder that's more uncomfortable. So you'll be working on the more comfortable one first. And here, we've done this many times before. Here you're doing something wonderful for your lower back because the legs have rolled over, the pelvis has tipped, and your back is making a spirally bending movement here in the lower back. So it's very good for the lower back, sacrum. Wonderful. So just breathe into that, let the head wobble. Now, the arm away from the leg, so if your legs have rolled over to the right, it's your left arm. This is the arm that you want to wake up and let your attention into, so your attention is flowing down to the hand and back. And you're going to travel up the floor slowly, and as you go, it's not just about moving your arm, you're going to feel that you're opening the side of your body. I'm showing you here in the camera. Yeah, and you will get to a point where the shoulder stops. You would have to lift your arm off the ground to keep going. If you're very, very flexible in the shoulders, just pay attention because there is a limit. You bump up against the limit. It has to do with the shape of the way the scapula comes up over there. There's this lip called the acromion, and it relates to the head of the humerus in a very particular way. And so those are the biological rules, but they're very beautiful because when we bump up against the edges of those things, we are touching our bony signature. And why get frustrated? just because it's different from your neighbor. You know, you should go, oh, that's me. I'm going to stay near to that. That's really interesting. So here you are. Now, just breathe into this opening that you've made down the side of your body, from knee to elbow. How's that? Yeah. And then we're going to proceed, but the way we are going to proceed is we're just going to imagine that the arm is being lifted up some centimeters off the ground. And you will notice immediately that you can lengthen a little more. So you just don't stretch though, we're just lengthening. Something will open, even though counterintuitively it shouldn't be like that, because you've now lifted a heavy object called your arm. And then you can see me here, so that David's arm is off the floor, and then I'm going to let it rotate in just a little bit as it travels to my face, towards my face. It doesn't have to touch the face, but it will travel, and it's going to keep reaching around as it goes up and over. It may touch your face or not, but it's your arm that is bringing your rib cage onto the side. Is that comfortable on the right? Yeah. So your arm is bringing your rib cage over onto the side. Your head is hanging off. You're drooling, and it's quite marvelous. And you should support. And I don't know how you all feel about this, but so many people have issues around and belief systems around pillows and sleep. And I don't know this thing that goes around that pillows are bad for you, or too many pillows. So if you sleep a lot on your side, you should consider the depth of your shoulder and this space. And it is helpful to the body to have some support there. So 1 or 2 pillows for side sleeping, especially if the whole night is spent like that, is not a bad thing. It's different if you're lying on your back or your front. So if you need support when you get there, you can stick a pillow under your head. So here you are on the side. Luke, is this a good angle? Yeah? Would it be better sideways? Would that be better? Okay. You tell me as we go into the shoulder, because David and I can move. So here you are, and you're comfortable, right?
Yeah.
So here you are on the side. You can adjust your legs as needed. Now, you're going to rest onto the side of your rib cage that is on the floor. Your head is heavy. And then through the elbow, not through any jaw tension or eyebrow tension, just through the elbow, you're going to let your arm float up. So elbows give your shoulder a really interesting information about efficiency. So you just let the elbow come up. Can you feel? Mm-hmm. And it's very nice. Your shoulder blade will move. That's where my hand is. And then you're just going to slide back. You know what, David? I think we should move. So if you don't mind, yeah, just come here. Come to my mat here.
It took half an hour to get into that position.
Yeah, but you're such an expert. Yeah. So heavy, heavy on the side. Okay. Yeah. So you're along the side of your body. That's where your weight is. And then so don't rush off into here. Stay rooted on the ground there. And then your elbow just takes your arm and you fly up. It's nothing cosmic. It's just wonderful. You fly up all the way through your fingers. And then you release at the elbow and you just let your arm crumple back down. Yeah, so look at my fingers. So here's your shoulder blade coming up over here, and this is your humerus coming in, and here is where we run into trouble. And then it sort of spreads out all over the place and we feel limited in a shoulder or not. So what's wonderful about this, because you're being heavy, is your shoulder blade is part of the heaviness. So it's just heavy. And then because you're moving from your elbow, you're slowly freeing the upper arm in its joint relationship. And you just let the whole elbow fly up or even the whole arm. All the way up through the fingers. And then when you're up there, and you've done that a few times, then you start to wave around. So you can go up and down the side, front and back, circles.
It'll be interesting the other side.
It will be, yeah. And then, yeah. And then front and back. But then, of course, you can also rotate the whole arm on its axis. Yeah, and so use as much olive oil as you can. Yeah, olive oil. Yeah, yeah. See, the rotation is really good for you. Yeah, and you can bend at the elbow. So every little change you make gives you a new orientation.
It's quite so spooky if you feel like you're hanging off your wrist.
That's
right.
Somehow
it's all,
it's miraculous.
It's
Suddenly you're hanging from here rather than standing.
And there's no kind of resistance. It's just.
And then we're going to increase the movement. So you can make a huge movement. Yeah, so that you're opening the whole side of the body. Don't irritate the shoulder. Yeah. And you can come back and you can go all the way down. Yeah. And up. Okay. Wonderful, wonderful. So it all just crumples to the floor. You just take a moment to breathe and feel where you are, and then you come on to the other side.
So do you want me to turn around?
No, we'll watch it from the back.
See, these are all Elon's little satellites running around the world.
So you're going to go that way, and then that's it. So hang out there for a moment. When you reach the limit, so keep going, keep going. The pillow may be in your way. Yeah, but that's fine.
Ah,
yeah, exactly.
That's the muscle. Right?
Yeah, so this is the shoulder that's, yeah. And yeah, and you know, you should listen to a good friend, right? If a good friend tells you do slow down or watch out or listen up, we should listen because it's so, this is an amazing friend, our body. You know, it's like when we read and then it's dusk and the light gets poor, after a while your body tells you, you feel drowsy, you get a headache, you get grumpy, it's because it's telling you stop reading. It's the same with these movements, you know, we're doing it in our head, yeah. And you move beautifully, and then you bumped into something, right? So there we are. Now you wait there. You wait there. So you can all feel and see that we're making an opening from hip to shoulders through the side of the body with this lovely little rotation that we've got here, which, by the way, I've said in lots of different classes, is very good for the lower back. And then, yeah. And then you can't proceed, right? Go a little further. Don't hurt yourself, though. You see, that's it. You can't proceed. You don't know what to do. Yeah. Yeah. So the only way is to go up. I'm going to put my hand just to make sure you're going to be okay, but that's it. Just let's start. So you have to go up and over anyway, but it's irritated. So it's you went much less far than the other. Keep the hand open. Keep reaching. Is that painful? Okay, so we're up and over now. So we're going along. You want to be heavy here, and you want to you see? That's it. And let's come back. Let's just come back to the floor and just let it rest.
But it was interesting. There was almost a kind of fear reaction.
Yeah.
It's gonna hurt. So I seized up, and then when you carried on talking, it loosened up. And it was okay.
Yeah. Well, we irritate something or we have pain, and then we get a disorientation through the joint. That's so the big part of it, which yoga or any movement practice can help, is to redo the pathways. So here we are. So you're going to reach around slowly, and when you know that you have to, you're going to start coming up. It's about now. That's it. And then the arm rotates in and you're fine. You see, you're perfectly fine. You can straighten the arm and let's come back. Yeah. So that's it. So there's a number of you that I saw on the list who I know have shoulder issues. So we're just playing like that, and you never focus on the joint that's in trouble, quote unquote, in trouble, because it's part of a much bigger system, and we just want the water to flow through. So we've got this length all the way down here to the feet. We're breathing and opening, and then from there we start to make this very lovely movement. So you're not thinking pain is about to come. Yeah. Which is not all of this moving. This is still the chest and the shoulder blade. It's just the humerus, the big bone of the upper arm. That's your limit there. So then, even if you had no discomfort in the arm, at some point, you would have to lift a little, and then you can lengthen more, and you can lengthen. See, your biceps is a bit freaked out too, because it's worried. So you can let the arm open, and the arm can rotate in as it travels towards the face, and the arm starts to take you over onto your side. Yeah, here, I'll give you both. That's it. Okay, so you're on your side, but you're much more relaxed on this shoulder, so you're completely collapsed. I'm going to bring you back a little bit more there. Okay, everyone. So here you are, very much lying on the side that's on the floor. On the side, this is interesting for the body to compute its side. And then the upper arm is going to move from the elbow. So just let me take your elbow, drop your forearm. That's it. And the shoulder blade is here, and the arm is just going to float up. Let's stay bent for a bit. Just going to float up. And when you're vertical here, this is attached to the sky, you're going to make little movements. And it's important that the forearm is very free to drip off. That's it. Little exploratory movements, pouring olive oil and the balm of Gilead into where the arm meets the shoulder blade and the clavicle. Yeah, how is that? It's fine. And weight is a balm. Weight is a wonderful balm. So the weight of the arm is resting in the joint, and you are making these wonderful little explorations, circling. So I can feel, the issue. There's you worried, and the joint's limited. Yeah. So we just breathe.
Well, the joint, it's the muscles. It's that muscle on the outer.
But it's across this articulation. Yeah. Like that. And then it's right here. You see here, it doesn't know what to do. And then it's just going to melt back down to the floor. That's it. And just let go. And then the elbow is going to float up again. Beautiful. That was very good. The shoulder blade is heavy. And this time the whole forearm goes up too. Your fingers are attached to the sky. Your shoulder blade is heavy. And then you're going to make these little movements. You can do circles in both directions. Is that comfortable?
It's so much better than last week. It's amazing.
Circles. Then you can test leaning it back, leaning it forward, going more towards the head, more towards the side of the body. Yeah. And then rotations on its axis. And the movement is an oil. See, there's a limitation. The movement is an oil. Yeah. Beautiful. The head, off you go. The head is heavy. The ribs are heavy. So the head doesn't think it's the arm. The ribs don't think it's the arm. So the shoulder blade is not rushing off to be an arm. They're all practicing being themselves. Yeah, you can see it's really beautiful and moving, you know. And then we're just going to see what happens if you reach towards your face. Go slowly. You're going to have to go forward a bit. Yeah, that's it. Brilliant. And come back. And again, reaching towards your face.
Yes, that's good.
Yeah, but it's good. And coming back. Okay, and just let it all crumple to the floor. And hang out there for a minute or two, and then when you're ready, come back to your back. And on your back. And again, just stay there and just feel what's happened in the upper body, what's happened to the breath, what's happened to your sense of weight. How is that?
Really nice and loose.
Loose. Yeah. Very nice. Just taking time to receive and gather. Yeah. I've been reflecting a lot on the relationship between self-consciousness and sensing yourself. And I think they are not the same thing. I think when we are embarrassed or self-conscious, we actually stop sensing ourselves in this rich way. But when we are just really at ease and, you know, with ourselves, we are in touch with pathways of sensation, but they are not preventing us from being in otherness. It's just a natural flow between two persons or a person and a group or a situation and that person. So self-consciousness is the attention is suddenly not the best kind of attention because there's a threat or an embarrassment, all those other social things that can happen. So here, and mindful movement, it's also, you know, I think sometimes that's not so helpful because not mindful movement, but it's embodied movement, that you are sensing through your own body, and it's orientated movement, where you know where the ground is, and therefore you know that extension, and you sense the pathway, but you know, you can be completely attentive to the beloved. So they're going to think that we're beloveds, which is also true.
I am very fond of you.
So then you're going to roll over onto your side and come up to standing. Yeah. Great.
It doesn't want to work.
Interesting, isn't it?
When it was doing nothing, it was fine. You know, when it was hanging off its wrist,
yeah.
It was up. As soon as I put it laid on it.
Yeah, and also you put it a little bit back. Okay, so let's come onto our hands and knees. You can stay there. We're going to be on our hands and knees. Curl your toes under. And we're just going to let our antlers take us forward. So get a good distance, knees to hands. Your antlers bring you forward. And then your hands push and your squirrel's tail brings you back. So the metaphors or the real image of growing your spine into a tail and that you stop looking at the shape of the spine, like art and imaginary, and resting my elbows into my hands. And we come forward. You come forward, you let the antlers come up, and you can rotate the arms about a little if it's helpful to you. You let the antlers come up so the chest across here opens up through the neck, and then the tail takes you back. And this time we're going to go back. We're going to rest the elbows on the floor, rest the forehead on the floor, and go back with the tail, way back, way back. And here we're back to, once you've got your tail up in the air, we've done this many times before, you're letting your lumbars hang forward, you're letting your organs hang, you're letting your ribs hang, your forehead is on the floor, you're not racing at the elbows. Then there is a big work that begins in the upper spine. So you've gone into child pose, so walk forward a bit to there. Now keep walking forward with your arms, and just tell me if that arm hurts. Yeah, stay. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Now I'm just going to hold your pelvis in place, and you're going to widen your arms a bit, but lengthen them. Keep going. Widen, lengthen. Yeah, how's that? And then we're going to just let the spine hang through. So if your shoulder plays up, you let me know. You let the spine hang through. Yeah. So I think this is an incredibly helpful pose. Very helpful. Where child pose is a resting pose, this is a pose where you rest into a very deep work that is happening on the front of the spine. Because your tail is up, your pelvis is tilted in this direction, which is very helpful for sacrum and lumbars. And then it's slowly asking the thoracic cage to open and to come away from flexion and grasping and typing and getting control of the world in front of you. So your rib cage is just releasing open. Now, if it does hurt your shoulders, you can adjust the arm, move it out of the way. You can even tuck it under your chest if it's really bothering you.
Just going there.
You want to get that. You don't want to proceed where your shoulder is hurting. So very long. And then you're going to make your way back from where you just were. And we're going to change mats. And you're going to go all the way back into child pose and just rest. Hand on top of the other, forehead resting on the hand. And just let your spine rest down to the floor. Breathe, remember, be remembered. Let the breath travel through. Stay close to yourself. And then we're going to slowly walk forward with the arms. One arm at a time. Your bum will start coming up. Then you curl your toes under. And you go as far as you can. Don't go past the vertical with your upper legs. And really rest through. Really rest the forehead on the ground. Don't prop against your elbows as much as you can. Obviously, if the shoulders are bothering you, don't irritate the shoulder. Back off. You can pull one arm back like I've just done, or even further or wider, or tuck it under. Okay. And then the hands are in the ground. We push with the toes and we reach through with the head and we come through. All the way through forward. All the way through long. And then we reach back with the left heel, back with the right heel, and you're making a long bamboo-y kind of plank. Yeah, that's it. And just decide, you can see on me, how bendy you want to be, or how rigid you want to be, or buckled. You know, they're all kind of different things, but it's nice if you know where you are. Yeah, know where you are. And rejoicing and staying here for hours, free in the neck. Then you lightly put the heels on the ground, and you simply come back to being on your hands and knees. And breathe, just notice where you are. So we're just up on hands and knees. Easy, you can let the head hang, or you can lift the antlers, let go in the bum, tail is free. Then we come up to kneeling. You come up to kneeling. So you're up on your knees. Yeah. So you want to be long from kneecap to toenails, just kind of long under there. And you're up, and don't make yourself completely flat in the groins, because there is muscular activity and very deep pathways in here, the psoas muscle especially. So there is a tension we don't want to force, we just want to feel it. Then we let the arms travel up, so the arms go up, so we're rooting through the knees, and we're sailing up through the arms. Yeah. And then the arms come towards each other, and they lift the breastbone. You can see I'm not just doing a big movement in my lower back. My arms come towards each other, and they lift the breastbone. It's as if they were harvesting something. This is what Vanda Scaravelli meant from the Italian raccogliere. It's as if your arms are gathering. They're gathering something as they come towards each other and lift. You discover your breastbone is free and your spine to arm relationship is free. The opposite would be to be wide, and then you can't do anything because you're stuck in the shoulder blade. So it's like you suddenly don't have shoulder blades anymore as the raccogliere happens, as the harvesting and gathering, and your arms keep lifting you and just keep going up. And the more you go up, that's beautiful. The more you're rooting and you're not worrying about your shoulders. Yes. And you're letting the movement travel up through the breastbone, throat, floor of mouth, face. There's an upward traveling, but if you don't have roots, you can't do it, or vice versa. As you travel up, you feel that you could swallow and relax into your roots. That's all the way. And the further you go, there will be a moment where you want to let your pelvis come forward. So don't push, you just let it. And then you discover you're going a little further. Did you feel that? That was amazing. Just the arms come towards each other, and there's this little circular movement, and that lets you come up, and then you just fold and relax back down, all the way into child pose, and rest. Beautiful. And rest. So, thank you everyone. Have a wonderful rest of the day or evening or morning, wherever you happen to be. And as we said, we've been uploading the classes. We're a little slow on the most recent ones, but and they're grouped in series. So the first two series were really a repetition of flexion extension, axis periphery, and then in this last one we've started to review those things, but we've started to do the basic standing poses and starting to look at shoulders and then a little more at hips. And then if you came in later, I was just saying that the internet here is poor, so it's taken us very poor, in fact, and sometimes it's crashing because we're in a valley away from the masts. but we're using a new camera and we're waiting for the correct mic for it, which will be a more portable mic for me. And that allows us to be better, allows me to be closer to the sound rather than the static mic. So thank you for your patience with all of that. So we'll see you again for yoga next week. We'll tell you by email, but the following, not next week there's a Tuesday class. The following week, we have an online retreat here. So there won't be a class, but you'll have all those series online. And once again, we'll give you the link so that you can go and continue to practice. So lots of love. Have a good rest of the day. Bye-bye. Thank you, David.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.